Hey, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining tonight's live stream. Really excited to give you a few updates on some of the work that we've done since the last live stream with Cherry Willow. And we have a partner that will hopefully be joining us, running a little bit behind. And I'm really excited, and I'll kind of tease that and be able to introduce him. He is one of our current Cherry Willow partners and collaborators. And we are really excited to spotlight the incredible work that his organization is doing with in conjunction with us here at Cherry Willow. So really one of the most exciting things that we've been able to get done since our last live stream was we actually launched our documentary. So as many of you know, I biked from Sacramento to San Diego in July. It was a 715-mile bike ride that I did over the course of 9 days. And along the way, we met with 7 different nonprofits, spoke to their executive directors, spoke to some of the people that they service, some of the staff members there, with really the goal of just highlighting the incredible work that they do in their communities. And that was really the entire goal of my ride, was to inspire people to take action in their community, highlight some of the amazing organizations that are working not only in the homelessness space, but also, we met with food banks, we met with youth organizations, and there are so many wonderful nonprofits that are operating in communities across the country, and their work is more important now than ever before. So that is really everything that we do at Cherry Willow, is to empower those organizations. We obviously use apparel to help them connect their brand, grow their brand locally in the communities, and get more people interested, engaged, and involved in not only supporting those nonprofits, but in telling the stories of why they do that. Not only does that highlight the benefits for the people that nonprofit service, but it also highlights the organization's benefit to the community as a whole. And that's something, particularly in the homelessness space, that we work to address, through our merchandise, with some of the humanized, not otherized messaging. And so I'd love to be able to show you a little bit just on the website of some of our recent updates. So if you do want to go check out the documentary, you can find it right here under the mission. So if we go back to the homepage, and we just, internet is buffering there for us. San Diego Hunger Coalition is actually one of our partners. And then if you want to see the documentary in whole, is a Cherry Willow partner, and really put together a wonderful professional a bunch of interviews with some of the founders. And the title for that was Dear America, This is Community. And so you can click right on the website here to watch. There was also, I had the opportunity to be interviewed out in San Diego by Fox. So they came out and actually met me along the ride. This was the last day of the ride, and so I was pretty tired. But we made quite the journey, and so it was really cool to have some coverage there. And I also have my younger brother Sean, who is working on another documentary that's going to almost encompass all of the work that we've done in our first year at Cherry Willow. We are coming up on our 1-year anniversary, which is extremely exciting. So you can see any of the other news appearances that we've had talking about the work that we do, how we help communities, and how we help people experiencing homelessness. And then another area I wanted to share with you all was the collaborations. So not only do we have our own merchandise for Cherry Willow, but spotlighting a lot of the amazing partner organizations is something that we're really excited about. So I wanted to go into a couple in particular here, and I will bring up Dr. Jumaine Jones and Beyond The Hardwood start. So he was our guest that we had scheduled for today, and is just running into some logistical challenges, and is doing his best to be able to join us here by the end of the show. But that's one of the collaborations. And if you are watching and you're a nonprofit or a community impact business, and you would like to learn more about how we collaborate, how we create the apparel collections, please reach out to myself or to Shauna Edwards, as you can see her commenting on LinkedIn. We'd love to have a conversation with you and just have you be a part of some of the really exciting partners that we've developed. We have, I think, right now about 40 different collaborations with all different types of businesses. So, some of the collaborations that we had on the ride. So San Diego Hunger Coalition, they are featured in the documentary, and ending hunger takes a community is the theme of that shirt. And really, what we saw when we were out in California, meeting with the people that are in the trenches, doing the important work every single day, is there's so many people that rely on these community organizations, and you don't really think about the mass, it's the scale at which they operate. So I believe it was 1 in 4 or 1 in 5 people in San Diego County that relied on food from the food banks in the county. And with SNAP benefits being restricted, that's putting more of a cost burden on people. And all of these systems tie back to homelessness. When you have people having to spend higher levels of their income on food, they're having to face the extremely difficult decision of either buying food for their family or putting a roof over their heads. And so that is a decision that no family should be faced with. And so that was one of the partnerships that you'll see in the documentary when you have a chance to check it out. And now this was, again, youth empowerment. They are based out of San Diego. They are a youth-based organization, and they provide a safe space for students to go after school so that they don't go down the path of gangs. And they have mentors that help these kids that actually, most of them, if not all of them, had experienced some prison or jail time. And once they got out, they wanted to create an organization to be a part of the solution. And so this is one of my favorite designs of all the collaborations that we've done. And it was actually a youth-led design contest. So the youth at Youth Empowerment worked together to design this shirt. And that Born to Break Cycles is such a powerful image. And this was actually just a pencil sketch that we were able to take and make this really cool graphic. Obviously, I have the Youth Empowerment logo here highlighted on the sleeve. And then, this was painting, right? We the people. So these were the two designs that the youth in the organization came up with. And I love talking about this partnership and this collaboration. They had a gala in November, and they were able to get these shirts featured on the news out there in San Diego. And, art is such an incredible way for people who have been through really challenging circumstances to express themselves. And so we are working to put on similar contests for other organizations, school districts, art collaboratives, where the participants in the program are able to really visualize what the impact of that organization means to them. And then we can create a really cool design that can be widely shared and extremely proud when you're wearing it. And one of our goals is for our apparel to be the first item you're wearing out of the laundry, not just because of how comfortable and the quality of the merchandise that it is, but because of the organization that it represents and because of the story that you want to tell people when they come up to you and they're like, well, what is Born to Break Cycles? What does that mean? And then we can talk about the incredible work that they're doing at Youth Empowerment, providing students an opportunity and a safe space to go after school, providing them a pathway so they can see a sustainable future. And that's really exciting for me to be able to work with organizations like this and to just spotlight the incredible work that they're doing in the community. So in conjunction with some of the other collaborations that we've done, but the humanity, again, Anya was incredible to work with. She came out to Los Angeles and San Diego and documented the trip. We did just such a, if you watch the documentary, you'll see all of the cuts and just the filming and the framing and the stories that we were able to capture. And so this is a great way to support Anya and her work. And as you can see, compassion is the new revolution. So she is a filmmaker, a documentarian, and focuses on, impact stories. So those were some of the collaborations that have been really exciting for us. And, in the last few months, we've been working really hard to get this documentary put together. And we're working to launch, our Pedal for Progress 2. So if you did want to support, the first stride, we had a shirt. I actually designed this one. This baby blue is my personal favorite color. And it was San Diego. And then each of the partners, that we met with there on the back. So a really cool way to support the trip. We're working to do Pedal for Progress 2 in Florida. That hopefully will be done sometime in Q1, where I will be biking from Jacksonville down to Miami. So it's only about 400 miles. So that's makes me feel a little better. 715 was a lot, but 400, I feel like that's pretty manageable, and really excited. We have some incredible partnerships down in the Florida area, including partnered with the Coalition to End Homelessness, and so that's some of the things that we've been working on in the interim since this month's show and last month's show. So yeah, I would love it if there are any questions, if you could shout them out in the chat. I see Michael. I appreciate the engagement, and it's amazing the people that we've been able to get connected with since we've been doing this work. It's a really exciting milestone coming up on our 1-year anniversary as being a nonprofit. So a lot of the stuff that we're working on for Q1 is to celebrate that first year, the impact that we've been able to make, and really just give ourselves, and all of the organizations that we've been able to support, continue to spotlight them and the important work that they're doing in their communities. The only other personal note was I do volunteer here locally at a warming center, and it's been really cool to see the mayor of Aurora, John Lesh. He has been so positively enforcing the need for everyone to have a safe, warm place to sleep. They were able to secure, I think it was a $360,000 donation of PPE for the people that are serving at the warming center, for the guests, to make sure that we're not getting sick during these winter months. I actually had the opportunity to go out there last night, and they had an organization, Maddie's Mittens, that is a really cool story, and I'm going to work to tell that story. I met with the dad of the founder of the organization, and it was actually really cool. His daughter at 10 years old did a coat drive, and now 16 years later, it's turned into a mobile shop almost, where they have 2 school buses. They're working on getting a third. And essentially they go out to, homeless shelters, warming centers, food banks, schools, and they allow them to come on the bus. And essentially it's set up where it's just like a clothing store, that you can go in. They have jackets, boots, coats, hoodies, socks, anything that you can imagine that people are needing in these winter months. And so that was a really cool thing to be a part of, to learn about. And one of the things we were sharing is there's so many amazing organizations that are doing incredible work in their communities. I think there's about 1.5 million nonprofits in the country, and they don't get enough shine. And especially with some of the funding restrictions, in the homelessness space, there's been a lot of news recently about HUD and some of the budget cuts, the shift in funding. And so right now it is a crucial time for people experiencing homelessness. there are about 170,000 people that currently are success stories of permanent supportive housing that have been receiving either vouchers, stipends through HUD funding, and they've retained that housing and they've stayed in it, and allowed them to have a safe foundation to build from, and actually improve themselves and work on becoming the best versions of themselves. And that funding is going to get shifted if we don't do something about it, to advocate for forced treatment. That is where HUD, the new secretary, has directed those funds. And so not only would that jeopardize the housing of 170,000 people across the country on an already burdened system. Like if you look at the warming center, that was set up as overflow from the shelter nearby, and on any given night, there's anywhere between 20 to 40 people that are having to stay in the warming center that there is nowhere else for them to go. And that's in a city with a population of about 250,000 people. If you look at Chicago proper, if you look at New York City, Los Angeles, I mean, these are hundreds of thousands of people that are impacted by homelessness. And a lot of the work that we do at Cherry Willow is centered around, addressing the perception change to help people better understand that it's not these individuals who are experiencing homelessness who are at fault. There was a quote that I heard where, if everybody that made a mistake ended up homeless, then we would all be homeless. And the systems that allow almost 1 million people to be experiencing homelessness in the wealthiest country in the world, those are what we need to change. So it's an affordable housing crisis. Not only are the people who are experiencing homelessness are the most visible sign of this crisis, but so many families across the country are cost burdened when it comes to rent. They're, from a financial standpoint, a healthy budget is around 30% of your income that is attributed toward housing. There are numerous tens of thousands of families that are spending over 50% of their income on housing each month. And that is just, it's not sustainable. It's not realistic to be able to expect to continue to move forward with that being the case. And these are things that need to be addressed through policy change. There needs to be more affordable housing units that are allocated in any area that is having development. So some of the other work that we do at Cherry Willow, we obviously have the nonprofit apparel organization, but we also have a tech startup that we're working to get launched in Q1 as well. And I'm really excited about that. I'll just kind of tease it a little bit here, and once we get closer to launching, I'll definitely bring it up and have a more in-depth discussion. But it's all centered around empowerment and connectivity. So the 5 pillars of homelessness that we've identified, is obviously the first one is housing, right? There's no addressing homelessness without the creation of more affordable housing. But then food insecurity is a big one. Then you have your health, whether that's physical health, mental health. Those are large reasons why people actually become homeless, is they get hurt, they lose their job, they lose their benefits, they have medical bills, medical debt, and then they can't work anywhere else. So then they end up on the streets. Then you have, your mental health, which is prevalent across all levels of society. It's not something that's isolated to people experiencing homelessness, nor is addiction. But those are 2 things that are very common to see and areas that we want to be able to provide support. Then we have transportation. This is a bucket that most people don't think about when it comes to how challenging tasks that seem small or menial can be for someone that's experiencing homelessness. If you don't have a car and you have to get to the DMV to get a document, whether it's a birth certificate, maybe a social security card, driver's license, whatever the case, you need that if you want to even seek employment. But if you don't have a transportation there and you don't have a case manager that you're working with or a local nonprofit that's able to provide that logistical support, that can be a major challenge. And that was, again, part of the reason why I chose to bike from Sacramento to San Diego, is because that is a form of transportation that is often accessible for people experiencing homelessness, but it can be extremely challenging and burdensome if that is your only form of transportation to be able to maintain a job. Um, if you're watching this, think about how challenging it would be if you had to bike to work, every single day. And then what that would limit you geographically in terms of the opportunities that you even could pursue. So that's the fourth pillar. And then the fifth pillar is education. So when it comes to financial education, understanding credit, helping to establish credit, all of these things are really challenging. And so those are what we built in the technology, is essentially an ecosystem where someone that's experiencing homelessness or needs support with any of these areas, they're going to be able to get connected to someone that is there to support them with this. And they're going to be able to create their own path. And we have a lot of other really cool features and things like that I can discuss once the technology is a little bit further along. But the holistic approach that we're taking at Cherry Willow is really to focus on empowering the people experiencing homelessness and giving them hope, helping them create a path that they can buy into and believe is possible to exit homelessness, and then providing actionable steps that they can take each day to continue walking on that path. And while being there and supporting them, if they do stumble or if they do take a step back, we're all human and we're all in this together. And so, that's the goal. And, in order to get some of the policy change that's necessary, you have to address the perception. Unfortunately, when it comes to homelessness, it's a very politicized issue. And with the grants pass ruling, which, if you're unfamiliar, was a Supreme Court case where the citizens of Grants Pass came together and advocated for making homelessness illegal. The Supreme Court ruled that it was illegal, and now that has opened the door for municipalities to actually arrest and imprison people simply for not being able to afford a home. And so, like, this system not only is inhumane, but it's also not economical. It's the cost to imprison someone is actually significantly more than the cost to provide that person with housing and then surround them with supportive services. So, that is something that the public really needs to have a better understanding of. And even if, you're not an altruistic person, or you're not someone that, you know, considers themselves to be charitable, just look at the economics of it and understand that there is money being spent supporting these people, regardless of if they're in a shelter, if they're unsheltered, or if they're in housing. And the best way to do it, not only from a humane standpoint, but from an economical standpoint, is to provide that housing. Housing First is a system that has been proven to work at over a 90% rate, but it hasn't scaled to the level that's necessary to be able to make, a massive reduction in homelessness. And that is actually what leads a lot of people in the public to feel like it's not working, because you'll have organizations that are in the space that are only talking about the success that they've had. And that's wonderful. But the reality is, unless there's change at scale when it comes to the creation of affordable housing, these organizations just can't keep up with kind of stopping the funnel. If you want to look at it as a pipe, like all these organizations in the homelessness services space and case management, they're trying to address things at the bottom of the pipeline. Like, they're just trying to stop the leak. They're trying to stop the flow of people that are losing their housing, that they're trying to support people that are currently without housing, and make sure they're connected with, temporary shelter. And so what that means is you're not able to address the upstream problem that is causing all of these people to become homeless in the first place, which, again, it ties into the affordable housing crisis across the country. It ties into the medical system, and how you're not able to have healthcare unless you're able to be, working full time. And, a lot of the most profitable organizations and highest revenue organizations in the country have large amount of staff that are relying on, SNAP benefits. The two that I always bring up are Walmart and McDonald's. They are the number one and number two employers that have the highest number of employees on SNAP benefits. And Walmart's the number one revenue organization, I believe, worldwide. And yet they have figured out a way to essentially, subsidize their profit through taxpayer dollars by either not paying their employees enough money so that they qualify for SNAP benefits, not giving them enough hours so they qualify for healthcare benefits. And there's a lot of different ways that a system that's gamed just on profitability are failing the people. And so that's really where, again, advocating to your local representatives, your Congress people, just reach out to them, let them know how crucial of an issue that affordable housing is to you. Let them know about the SNAP benefits and just help connect the dots that like these are things that are extremely vital, these social safety nets to our society as a whole. And so that is something that any of us can do. It takes a minute to just reach out, give your local congressperson a call. You can send them an email and be persistent. That's where they're going to know like this person is not someone that's just going to go reach out one time and they'll never hear from you again. They will follow up with you if you are in communication with them, if you are letting them know this issue is a priority, because that is their job to represent you, right? And they want to be reelected at the end of the day. So any issues that you're passionate about in your community, whether they are directly related to homelessness, whether relating to food security, anything of that ilk, please do your part and let your congressperson know that these issues are important to you and that you are paying attention to the policies that they're bringing forward to Congress, to the votes that they're making, and how they impact the community as a whole. So those are just a few different things that you can do to help support people experiencing homelessness, and help address some of the societal changes that are necessary. Unfortunately, it does not look like our guest, Dr. Jumaine Jones, is going to be able to join the show. Was really, really excited to have him on, so we will work to get that rescheduled with him for a time that works for everybody. And really, I'll just continue to provide updates on what we're doing, the work that we're doing at Cherry Willow. It's a really exciting time for us as we're coming up on that 1-year anniversary. We're working really hard to make a push for a year end, and to really set ourselves up to help as many people experiencing homelessness as we can, finishing out the year and going into 2026. And just some closing words here. 2026 could be a really rough year for the homelessness services industry. If that HUD funding doesn't get changed, as I mentioned earlier, that's 170,000 people that are going to go into a system that there's already no space for. The shelters here in my community are completely at capacity, and this is something that needs to be addressed. Otherwise, it's going to get a lot worse, which is it's really scary to think about. I know that there was someone here in my community just a week or so ago that unfortunately passed away when they were out on the streets, and I believe at the age of 52. And that's something that I bring up where, housing is a health issue. The people that are experiencing homelessness, they die 20 to 30 years younger than someone in the average population that's housed. And another stat that I bring up all the time is 40 to 60% of people experiencing homelessness actually work and are employed. And there just can't be a system in the wealthiest nation in the world that allows for people to work full time, oftentimes 2 jobs, and still not be able to afford housing. So anybody that's watching out there, just like think about how challenging it would be for you to go work all day, whether that's at Walmart, McDonald's, wherever you may be working at, and then not be able to afford a place to live, not be sure where you're going to be sleeping that next night, where your next meal is going to come from. And that's really traumatic. And that is actually, in a lot of instances, people turn to substances or they develop mental health issues or accelerate those issues after they've experienced homelessness. It's not that those things are causing homelessness. There's plenty of people across the country that battle mental health issues, that battle addiction, that you don't see out on the streets because they have a home. And that's really, if you want to give someone an opportunity to make progress, it's extremely challenging mental health when you have a stable home, when you have a support system and family around you. So expecting someone to be able to make progress on their mental health while still living in the traumatic situation of being homeless, that's essentially what this new HUD policy is saying, that we're going to force these people into treatment. And then after treatment, where do they go? They're not funding housing, so they go right back on the streets. They go right back into the same environment that maybe push them towards substances in the first place, or that really hurt their mental health. And so that's why that forced treatment is just not, it's not a solution. And I understand a lot of people are desperate. A lot of people don't want to have to see homelessness in their community, whether again it's from a humane standpoint or if it's from an economic standpoint, because you're concerned as a business owner about people experiencing homelessness in your area. But at the end of the day, these are all things that we can do, is just educate ourselves on what's worked. There are countries that have done a really good job addressing homelessness. Finland comes to mind. There are municipalities that have done a really good job addressing homelessness, and they all start by just providing that housing first, and giving someone a safe space, which then they can build from. Without that foundation of housing, it's almost impossible to make progress on mental health, workforce development, addiction, any other financial education, just any of these other things that people are dealing with. So just please do your part, educate yourself on the systems that are working, and reach out to your local representatives. Reach out to your local food bank, your local shelter, see where they need help. Ask what you can do. I'm sure there's an event that you can volunteer at or serve. And then when you're spending time with the people experiencing homelessness, I think you'll find that they are no different than you or I. Like I said, last night I was at the warming center, and it was so much fun. Like they have an incredible sense of community, and they give each other a hard time, and it's almost reminds me of like siblings or like kids at a school, where it's just this group of people that are together. They've all been through a similar experience, and they're making light of it. There's a lot of laughter, there's jokes, and they're so positive despite maybe enduring some of the most challenging circumstances that you can endure. And so I'm always impressed by the resilience that these individuals show, and just the level of community that they build and how they show up authentically. Even if it's not the best, if they were drunk that day, or if they smoked crack or whatever they did, they own it and they're working on it. And it's just really a fun atmosphere to be in, when you see the people just being themselves and just being authentic, and knowing that we're a part of supporting them and we're working towards addressing some of the systemic causes of homelessness. It always warms my heart. So I appreciate you all watching. Thank you, David, for tuning in. I would love if there is any questions about what we're doing at Cherry Willow. If there's anything about the partnerships, the collaboration around homelessness, any of those things, I would love for any feedback from those of you out there in the audience, because otherwise we are just going to keep on trucking. Great question, Jesse. Thanks for asking. So our partnerships, we can have in a couple of different ways. I don't know if we want to share the screen again, Jesse, and I'll show you a little bit some of the different partners that we have presently. So here we have, these are all of our collaboration partners. So we have, apparel with each of these partners. The warming center that I spoke about is actually being put on by Becoming Oswego. And so you can see here on any of our parties. So funds from this actually go to the people at the warming center, help them provide warm meals, and if they need, socks, anything that they need, that's what those go to. And actually, that melt ice was because there was an anti-ice ordinance that the city of Aurora also voted against. So they disallowed ICE to conduct raids on city property. So that was really exciting to be a part of that. And if you want to partner with us, like I said, you can reach out to myself directly on LinkedIn. You can send me an email, matt@treywillapparel.com, or you can reach out to Shauna Edwards on LinkedIn or send her an email, shauna@cherrywillowapparel.com. And we will set up a meeting to walk you through the partnership process. So, as you can see here, all of these partners are collaborators with them, and that helps to provide funding for each of their missions. It does not have to be an organization in the homelessness space. It doesn't even have to be a nonprofit. But our one caveat is you have to be a community-oriented organization, somebody that's working to really better their community. And there's a friends working to get collaborations with all these organizations as well. And then we also have, corporate partners. So if you are representing a business and you're looking for a nonprofit for your corporation to support, we can do that by creating different ways, and would love to have a conversation with you, any business representative, to see what a partnership would look like. We're very open to being creative in how we partner, whether it's helping to organize volunteers with community impact events. If you wanted to do a program where you're donating some of your skills and time to nonprofits or to people experiencing homelessness. So those are all of the different partners that we have, and that is the best way to get in touch with us. So I really appreciate you all joining this evening, and hopefully Dr. Jumaine Jones will be able to join us on a future program and get to talk about his incredible organization, Beyond The Hardwood. I was really excited. He is actually was an 8-year NBA veteran. Got to play in the 2001 NBA Finals on the 76ers with Allen Iverson and Dikembe Mutombo. And they played against the Shaq and Kobe Lakers during their dynasty. So he's doing incredible work now with Beyond The Hardwood, and I will kind of keep some of the material that I had for the next show when he is able to join us. But it's a wonderful organization. If you want to check them out, beyondthehardwood.ai is their website. And then you can see, Dr. Jumaine Jones' book and the work that him and his organization are doing there at Beyond The Hardwood. So that is pretty much it for me. I really appreciate everyone joining, and thank you so much for the time this evening.